Bit of IBS. Hello, dear.
Aduh, mari butuh, mari buta. Latihan buta
How is that though? Like when you go back and you see, like, what's that kind of feeling like to see someone after 5 years, to like your grandparents or friends that you left behind, something like that?
Well, seeing my friends was perfectly normal. Like, it was just like you picking up right where you left off, really, which is great.
Yeah.
And I think that says something to the merit of the friendship, really.
Yeah.
But with my grandparents, I think I'd never been more shocked. Because when I left them, they were fine. Like, they were doing good. But I think in the 5 years that I was away from them, I learned that they were not the people that I had seen them as a kid growing up. Obviously, you start to get different perceptions of of the adults in your life.
Yeah.
As opposed to how you view them when you're a child.
Yeah. What do you think surprised you the most going back about, your grandparents and seeing them again?
Well, I think it's important here to sort of differ between my maternal and my paternal grandparents.
Right. Let's do paternal first. How about that?
All right. My paternal grandparents, I think, they shocked me the most.
Well, okay.
Now they are in a state of desperate help. They need help, and they are unwilling to accept it because they feel like, at least I feel, that they think that diminishes their independence.
Right.
මෙයා මට පේන්නේ මීට වැඩි අප්සෙට් නේ ඔගේ ඔයා ගියාට.
කවුද?
ගියා. ඕල් ගියාට පස්සේ වදන්නේ අවුරුදු පහම මේ ඉඳලා අන්තිමට අර විදිහට තත්ත්වයකට වැටුණා. කොන්සන්ට්‍රේට් වෙන්න ඕන.
I don't want them to be spending the final years of their life in this state where it's hard for them to sort of let go of the past.
Yeah.
And that was so evident. You wouldn't believe it. Like, I was so... it almost felt like I was living in a novel of some sort. Going to my grandmother's bedroom. She would have the empty boxes in which we would have sent her like small parcels and stuff over the last 5 years, just holding onto the box because it was something we had sent her.
Wow.
Some of these boxes were like 4 or 5 years old, like they would just be breaking down, but she's just hanging onto the tiny piece of cardboard. And it's harsh to take that away from them, but at the same time, I think it's something really difficult to sort of wrap your head around and
Yeah, man.
to even explain.
Yeah. Yeah. What about your grandfather on that side?
Yeah, my grandfather, I think he realized how emotional of a person he is after we left. Because he started expressing his emotions a lot more after we left, even though it was through phone call. And it was something that I wish that was a lot more evident when we were together, you know, in the same physical space all that time. But then again, that's just sort of the patriarchal values that's sort of prevalent in our
Do you
society.
think like the physical separation made that a bit more of
Absolutely.
an easy thing for him to start to do, or do you think it was maybe like an emotional realization after you left? Do you think it's a combination?
I think it's probably a combination of both.
පස්සේ ඉතින් මම ඊට පස්සේ යොකෝහාමා වලට ගිහිල්ලා යොකෝහාමා වලින් මිත්සුබිසි ලොන්ලි බ්ලඩ් එකේ කට්ටිය හම්බ වුණා. දවස් දෙකක් වුණා ඩයිපි හොටෙල් එකේ නවතිලා. ඉතින් තමයි හැරි බෙලා කොන්ටි හම්බ වුණේ. අහම්බෙන්. ඉතින් ඒ වෙලාව ඉතින් ඊට පස්සේ මගේ කැරියර් එකට නැග්ගා.
මොකක්ද එයා කිව්වේ කියන්නේ? එයා කිව්වේ කියන්නේ
කවුද?
හැරි බෙලාෆොන්ට්.
හැරි බෙලාෆොන්ට් මගේ කරට දාගෙන නම් කිව්වා I like to see my colored people කියලා. ඔව් තමයි මගේ ලයිෆ් එක පටන් ගන්නකොට ඉතින් පටන් ඉඳලා ඉතින් මම මොමාරින් වැඩේ කරගත්තා කරලා ඉතින් ඉලා මිත්සුබිසි වලට එන්නේ. එහෙම ඇවිල්ලා
කොච්චර කාලයක් හිටියද ජපානයේ?
1 year.
1 year. මෙහෙට පෝස්ට් කාඩ් අරව මේව එව්වා.
එව්වා.
ෆෝන් කෝල්ස් ගන්න පුළුවන්කම තිබ්බද?
ෆෝන් කෝල්ස්
බෑනේ.
මේ ලියුම් එව්වා අම්මට.
He realized there's no point in hiding these emotions, or I do miss them. It's very evident, like, and it's nice to sort of see that, but at the same time, it's there's an element of tragedy there, obviously, realizing that this is how it could have been all this time.
Yeah, it's hard.
But such are the woes of building a transnational identity.
Yeah.
2002.
මම ඉවිදේශ
By that time, 2002, great thing is D.I.L. Jayasuri was born. So I knew that I can't do things. I had to support my wife and other things. I left. And I get a night.
and then you retired, so 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 60 years.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a good life.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of dismembering parts of, you know, traditionalism and patriarchy and values that.
But the best part is it's happening. It's happening. Like, we are dismantling the traditional sort of.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a way, at least.
Yeah.
At least in a way that it won't be carried on to the next generation from our family.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like the move from Sri Lanka is like a big thing in beginning to dismantle that?
Yeah, of course. I think it exposed me and my sister to a whole different set of values, you know.
Yeah.
I've been probably so my sister and myself, I think.
මෙහෙම පල්ලෙහාට උනේ නැත්තම් අමිට පුළුවන් දන්නේ ගන්න. සුදුදුව. අනේ තේතල් කටට කටේ දැම්මද? නෑ කටේ දාන්න.
Did you feel a bit of a disconnect to like the way you'd previously envisioned Sri Lanka when you left?
Yeah.
And the things you know kind of upheld as cultural values and national identity, and then to come here and then return after 5 years, what was that kind of like for you when you were experiencing culture and that identity all over again?
Well, because coming here and then starting to study on Sri Lanka through uni was an entirely different perspective. You're literally looking at my own country from a bird's eye view. Being halfway across the world and going back there made me realize how blind I had been to everything our country had to offer, because it's so easily taken for granted.
I think you should be proud of your national identity.
Absolutely,
Do
and
you- yeah. How do you like hang on to that like pride in national identity when you're here? You know.
well, it's a tough line to walk because I think Sri Lanka's very easily nationalistic. But at the same time, it's important to sort of do it for the right reasons and not just sort of assert a cultural dominance over one or the other, which we've seen create many problems in the past. And that's not at all what I'm on about. Growing up, all I heard was, oh, the imported milk is better. The imported cheese is better.
So staunchly opposite.
They're so staunchly
to you.
opposite, but at the same time, we're like, oh, our country's great. It's not adding up, so there's a great irony there, I think, in our people and in our country and our culture. I think our people know. I think that our people know. I think our country knows how beautiful and exuberant and how precious and valuable it can be and how resourceful it can be. But they don't really know how to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cultural elements in our society that's overshadowed easily by the ever-prevalent sort of corruption and greed in our sort of parliamentary systems, and which then seeps its way into everyday life.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more focus on the nicer parts of our culture. I guess that's what I'm trying to do, living here, like telling people about what our country is like and what our people are like.
Yeah. Do you think going back, like post-COVID economic crisis, like do you think the attitude is different in Sri Lanka?
It definitely is, and it's gotten better.
දැන් ඔය කොරෝනා සීසන් එක තිබ්බනේ 2019 21 තිබ්බේ. ඉතින් පිටරයක් රුපියල් 10යිනේ පුතා. කොච්චර රට මේ මුණ දීලා ඔය වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයකට. ඒක තමයි. රුපියල් 10යි 12යි පිටර අපි ඕන තරම් තිබුණා ගන්න මිනිස්සුන්ට ගන්න. දැන් පිටරේ 62යි 65යි. උදාහරණයට ගත්තේ රුපියල් 10 60ට යනකොට 10 60ට යනකොට ආදායම ඒ ගානට තියෙනකොට ටීබිලක් නෙමෙයි ආයික ආදායම තව අඩු වෙලානේ. ඔව්. දැන් මාර්ගෝදී හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් එකක් ගිහින් සාමාන්‍ය හොඳ මධ්‍යම පාන්තික හිටපු මිනිස්සෙක් ඉතින් දැන් අර කොරෝනාත් එක්ක අපි ටිකක් පල්ලෙහාට තල්ලු වෙලා තියෙනවා. වරුණා නේද? ඔව්. දැන් අපි හાર્ඩ්වෙයාර් එක කරන කාලේ ඉතින් දේවල් ලැබුවා ළමයින්ට ඉගෙනුවා ඉතින් හොඳට කරගත්තා. එතකොට පෙට්‍රල් ලීටර් 117යි ඊට පස්සේ උපරිම 157 වෙනකන් ගියා. එතකොටත් අපි සාමාන්‍ය ලක්ෂයක් විතර හම්බ කරනවා මාසෙට. ඒ කාලේ. එතකොට දැන් පෙට්‍රල් 370යි. එතකොට දැන් ලක්ෂයක් හොයන්නත් බෑ. එතකොට හිතන්න කොහොමද මිනිස්සුන්ගේ හිරවිල්ල සාපේක්ෂ කළ දෙපැත්තට. එදා ලක්ෂයක් හොයමියට දැන් ලක්ෂය වන්නත් බෑ.
ඒ ලක්ෂය ඒක
පරිවහන.
I can't change the parliament, I can't change the governance, and that all I can do is sort of shed some light on what's actually happening in the country.
Yeah. Do you think most people kind of feel like that as well in Sri Lanka? Do you think they're like, they feel like, oh, like I can't change this, I can't change that, but you know, like what can I do? Like I can shed this, I can do this. Or
Well,
do you
that's-
feel like they just kind of are blinded by a bit of powerlessness?
That's the thing, right? There's this quote from a book that this great author Shehan Karunatilaka, he wrote this book called The Seven Wounds of Mali Almeida, which won the 2022 Booker Prize, and there's a quote in there which it's not verbatim, but I think it just goes, one character asks the other, wow, why does Sri Lanka have the most suicide rates in the world? And I think the other character just answers, it's because we have enough education to know how bad it is, but just enough power not to do anything about it. Something like that. Might be wrong. But
Strong though. It's
that's
strong.
exactly how it is. It's
Yeah.
exactly how it, because nepotism rules and money talks.
Yeah.
කොහමරි උදේ 10ට විතර ඇති මම ඩ්‍රයිවිං එකේ මුහුද පැත්තෙන් ඇවිදගෙන යනවා මම ඉතින් අර ඇවිදින්න කැමති මුහුදේ ඉතින් හුලගත්තනවා ඉතින් කොහමරි මම ඇවිදගෙන යද්දි මට ඇහුණා නිකන් උඩ තට්ටුවක වැඩ කර හිටපු එක්කෙනෙක් ඒ ගාලා කෑ ගහනවා ඉතින් මම බැලුවා මේ මොකද්ද කියලා ඒක තමයි මම දැක්කේ මේ ගෑනුවෙක් ඉන්න මුහුදේ පැනලා ඉන්නවා එතන බරයිඩ එකේ ඊටසේ මම රේල් පාර පැනලා බැලුවා මොකද කියලා එතකොටම මේ තමයි දැක්කේ වෙනදේ ඊට පස්සේ එතන ළඟ හිටපු එක්කෙනෙක් දුවගෙන ඇවිල්ලා කන්නා එයා හිටියේ නැත්නම් මට ෂුවර් නෑ මෙයාව බේර ගන්න පුළුවන් වේද කියලා
Yeah.
I think the governing of Sri Lanka, at least until a very recent point, was more focused on creating a more materialistic growth rather than a more rather than a growth that contributes to social welfare and cultural welfare. And now we're seeing the results of it.
ගැම්මට තියෙනවානේ
ඉතින් ඕම එද්දි ඔය ඉතින් පෙනුමට ඔක්කොම අරවලා තියෙනවා නේ වන්ද
වෙනම විතරයි හැබැයි වයස් එකේ
ආසේ කතා
ඊට පස්සේ කොහොම හරි දැන් මෙයාව බේරගත්තා මේ ඔක්කොම හරියට පර්ෆෙක්ට් කරන්න උන්නේ නැහැ මෙයාව අර ගල් උඩින් හරි අමාරුවෙන් උස්සගෙන ආවේ දෙන්නෙක් වගේ උස්සගෙන ආවේ කවුරුත් වැඩිය මෙයාව උස්සන්න ආවෙත් නැහැ කොහොම හරි මෙයාව ඊට පස්සේ පේමන්ට් එකට ගත්තා සයිඩ් බෝක් එකට සයිඩ් බෝක් එකේ දැන් මෙයාගේ ඇඟේ වැලි එහෙම තියනවාද වතුර පිටින් කොණ්ඩේ ඔක්කොම මූණ පුරාම
The metaphor that I used was that they've just built a huge swimming pool in the country and they haven't taught any of the people how to swim. So they all just drown, you know?
Yeah.
එකේ හුම් පපුවටම අත් දෙක තියලා එයාව කොට දාන්න හැදුවා. ඊට පස්සේ එයා නැගිටින්නේ නැහැ. කම්බුලට ගැහුවා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි හැමෝම ඇවිල්ලා මෙයාට බයින්න ගත්තේ. මොනවරුෙන් බැන්නා. ඒ සිවේසියා. හැමෝම නිකන් එයාලගේ වෙලා වටින වෙලාව නාස්ති කරා වගේ තමයි කතා කරේ. මෙයාගේ අතේ ලොකු පැල්මක් තිබ්බා. එයාට ගොඩක් මෙන්ටල් ස්ට්‍රගල්ස් තියෙන්නදී. ඉතින් දුක හිතනවා. ඉතින් මෙයා හරි ලස්සනට හිටපු එක්කෙනෙක් කොණ්ඩේ කලර් කරලා තිබ්බා. එයාගේ නේල්ස් කලර් කරලා තිබ්බා. ලස්සන ඇඳුමක් ඇඳගෙන හිටියා. එයාගේ පර්ස් එකයි පොඩි ටෙඩි කෙනෙකුයි එයාගේ එතන ගල්තලාවේ දාලා ගිහින් තිබ්බා. පොලිසියට කතා කරා. පොලිසිය දන්නවනේ එයාලා කොහොමත් ආන්සර් ගන්න.
මාසික අන්න ගහනවා.
ලංකාව දැන් කොම්ඩල් වගේ දාන්න බේන්නේ නිකන්. දැක්කම අමුතු වෙදිනේ. මොකද්ද මේ රටට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා
තාත්තා කිව්වා මට එන්න කලින් දාලා ගිය රට තමයි තියෙන්නේ කියලා.
ඒ වගේම නේද?
ඇත්ත තමයි.
දැන් දැක්කද? මෙයාගේ ගෑනුකම මෙතන නැතිලා. ඒක තමයි මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. එයා මිනිස්සෙන් නෙමෙයි වගේ එතන එයාගේ ඔක්කොම අඹරලා දාලා හරි අමුතු විදිහකට හිටියේ. හැමෝම කම්බුලට ගහනවා බයිනවා. කුමාර ඊට පස්සේ ඇම්බියුලන්ස් එක ආවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒගොල්ලොත් අර බැලුවා මේ නැගිටවන්නේ නැගිට්ටේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ මෙයාව කොහොම හරි දාගෙන ගියා. ඊට පස්සේ අර බේරගත්ත මිනිස්සයා මට මතකයි අර රතු පාට ෂර්ට් එකක් අරගෙන හිටියේ. එයාට හැමෝම එයාට මේ මොඳ කිව්වා. ඊට පස්සේ හැමෝම ඒ ගැන ගොඩක් වෙලා කතා කරා. ගොඩක්ම කට්ටිය කතා කරේ එයාලගේ කාලේ නාස්ති වෙච්ච එක ගැන. එයා ඒ ගෑනුවෙක් කෙනාගේ මෝඩකම ඇයි එහෙම කරේ. මට ඒලා ගොඩක් දේවල් හිතට ආවා. ඉතින් මට ඒ දේවල් මේ මිනිස්සුත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න බෑ. ඊට පස්සේ මට බණී ඒගොල්ලෝ හැමෝම. ඊට පස්සේ හැමෝම විසිරලා ගියා මොනවත් උන්නේ නැහැ වගේ. ඊට පස්සේ මම ඒක ගැන කල්පනා කර කර ආයෙත් ඇවිදගෙන ගියා.
And I think COVID, and once the economic recession, the crisis hit, people started to realize that they were not going to be allowed to be played by the government anymore.
Yeah.
Which is why the protests happened, which is why our president was overthrown, and which is why we've been through the country's been through so much. Like, it's just only 15 years ago that a 26-year-long war ended, and then not even another 20 years had passed, and we're already in knee deep in all this problems, and it hasn't been an easy journey for our people. But I think the most important thing about us is that there is some element of unwavering determination that just makes them want to keep going.
Do you think that's kind of like prevalent amongst the population of Sri Lanka, or if it's just a young person thing that's taking over?
No, that's actually something I think is prevalent among our culture. It's more of a cultural element. I think that these people are very determined to just do whatever.
Do you feel like a part of developing this kind of idea has come from your outside studies as well, from coming to Australia and having that bird's eye view, like you said? Or do you think like you might have a different view if you were in Sri Lanka, if you never left Sri Lanka?
I would not. That's a tough one to sort of think about, because yeah, you just can't guess. I mean, I just can't, I don't know. If I was in Sri Lanka, then I probably would not have had as many perspectives as I would had coming here.
Yeah.
I can say that much because I still would have been inside the country.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, I think because of how I was brought up and the environment in which I was brought up, my path to sort of getting a more worldly view on matters would have been heavily obstructed.
Yeah. You think, I like you've told me about your grandfather before, and how he had quite a worldly view. He was quite a man who had quite a worldly view. Do you think, like, having stayed in Sri Lanka, that he would have been someone who informed your worldview in particular?
Now, this is my maternal grandfather.
Yes.
He probably would have been able to, and I realized that it was mainly through the limited interactions that I had with him throughout the time I lived there that I have possessed that has helped me possess such a worldly view now. Before I left, he was in okay health. He was, I think, diagnosed with Parkinson's, early stages at that point. But he was able to talk, he was able to move, everything, it was alright. After we came here, his condition were just that worsened. Never really got better. He was still the same person he was. It's just he could not convey whatever he had to say, whatever he had wanted to write, he couldn't write. And he spoke so softly. He couldn't really talk that well, but when I went back, I had really long conversations with him, and I was very lucky to be able to do that because he was not able to do that. But I like to think that maybe he just sort of wanted to do that for me, which is really nice because he kept saying that he wanted to see me and that he was worried that he would not stay long enough to be able to see me.
That's so nice. That's so lovely.
I wanted to get you a pen from Australia. I thought I'd get you a pen. A pen, yes, too. But then I realized you're not going to be writing anytime soon anymore.
So my probably I'll update myself.
Yes. Yeah.
And so local news, they all, I know what
In the radio,
try, I can absorb it.
yeah.
Because this is not possible.
Possible.
You not tell it to you.
Yeah. මට මේ පොඩ්ඩක් බැලුවා ආච්චිට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා ආච්චිගේ ෆෝන් එක වැඩ කරන්න හැලුනේ නේද මේ වීඩියෝ එකක් ගන්න බැයිද මේ මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවද උඟක් වටේ කමක් නැත්තම් ඕ සද්ද අඩු කරලානේ පුළුවන් නම් පොඩ්ඩක් ගන්න මට පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්න ආසයි
Yeah, it blew me away how much of a worldly person he was and how much perspective and knowledge and intelligence he had, and how it made me sad that I was not able to sort of be exposed to that as well as I might have been able to. And now that he passed away a couple of weeks after I left Sri Lanka, I never will. And I don't think that's something I'll ever be able to fully accept, but
Auntie. Archie, කොහමද? ඔව් මට ඒක තමයි තියෙන එකම මට තියෙන ලොකුම සතුට ඒක තමයි ආච්චි. මට පුළුවන් නම් මං අද එනවා. ඔයා එනකොට මම කොටිය සානික කරලා තිබ්බ පුතේ. මං දන්නවා. ඒකට වැඩි කරගන්න. ඔයාට ඕන කරන ටික කරගන්න. මම දුක වැඩි කරා. කොහොම හරි කියන්නේ. ඒකට දාසතාව පින් සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
So powerful that you got to see him.
see him, yeah, I
in his
know.
final
I
moments
was,
and-
talk about timing, I guess.
yeah, and obviously he made such a big deal about wanting to speak to you and to see you while you were there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about having spent, after a long time away, some nice time
Just
with the man?
Just so privileged.
Yeah.
And in the nice way. I felt it felt so precious getting able to spend the time. I even got the opportunity just to have like a small drink with him, which was everything. But he was very happy with how I was doing my work and what work I wanted to do for my future, and
it's nice. I feel like his attitude toward you must have been like an unconditional kind of thing, you know, like he, despite any ailment and despite any physical, you know, incapability, like his...
We are proud of being your grandparent. That I must say.
Well, I'm proud to have you as my grandparents. Likewise.
I'm proud of my daughter, proud of my army-law. He's actually, he's like my own son. I am first in your father.
Not
Yes,
bad.
and very nice.
the last words he ever told me was like, yeah, it doesn't have a direct translation to English, I guess, but in Sinhala, he just said Jaya Veva, which means like, may victory come upon you,
That's so nice.
which sounds really dramatic when you say it in English, but
Yeah.
ඔබට මෙම සැමරුම් ගැන පවසන්න තිබෙන්නේ කුමක්ද?
අපිට සන්තෝෂයි අපේ ආදරණීය මනුපුරා 21 සතුවර්ෂී චිත්තපටි අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරයෙක් ලෙස ඩොක්ටර් ඩිවාර්ඩ්මන් සිද්ධ
අගේ එතකොට පැමිණෙන වසරේද මෙවැනි උත්සවයක් තිබීමට ඔබ බලාපොරොත්තු වන්නේද?
ඒවා කියන්නේ බෑ. කිව්වොත් තමයි.
And I think, and I've said this to you before, I think a part of his spirit lives on in you. I think like that's the kind of legacy you want to leave. You want to leave like a kindness in spirit that endures through people.
that's a very nice thing to say.
Yeah, I feel like I never met him, but from the impression I get about him, from the things you've told me, like I feel heavily that his spirit lives on in you. So
That's very that's a comforting thing that I will accept.
thing that I will accept.
Well,
That business deal.
yeah, that's nice to say. Thank you.
That's alright, man. Do you feel
suppose
at all that like there's a certain amount of traditionalism that should be hung on to as well, though? Do you feel like there should be things like that you want to keep, you know?
I think there are definitely some elements that I want to keep, but that's not. I'm not keeping them for the sake of keeping it. Keeping it because I think it's necessary. Because I think some elements that I preserve because I think they sort of define what our cultural identity is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And personally, for me, it helps me feel Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important thing, and is something that a lot of immigrants possibly struggle with once they come to a new country. I'm in a weirdly unique position where I can learn the best of both worlds, and then sort of bring together a cultural marriage of sorts, which I think can be very colourful in building my life for the future, or that of any future generations that's about to come from my family.
Yeah.
Like, I've been given my family estate, and I have to take care of it until, I don't know, I could sell it, but I'm not going to do that. It's where I grew up. And
do you think having that estate gives you a connection to Sri Lanka that kind of pulls you back in a way?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in many ways, that house and everything about it ties me to what I think makes me Sri Lankan. Because surrounding it and people that interacted with our family on a sort of regular basis consisted of what I think pertains to a valuable Sri Lankan culture that's worth taking on and sort of perpetuating. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I do get it.
Our garden was so rich, and we had so many fruits. We had avocados, we had mangoes, we had coconuts, we had everything we could possibly ask. We were just growing wild. And at the same time, I would not care at all as a 5-6-year-old. I would just be more in love with the can of sliced peaches in syrup that comes for like 2,500 rupees. I'm not yelling at that kid. But it's just what society had shaped me into at that point.
Yeah.
What the best part is, I think, at present, there's a huge sort of rebellion against this. There's a huge love for local coming up. That's something I saw when I went back, especially with like local clothing, local healthcare, local just local products in general. There's a huge love coming for it, and there's a massive part of youth and like our age group sort of advocating for it, and they are the future. So I think there is a future, a good one, somewhere there. And if I can help do something to be a part of it, then I will do it, because it doesn't matter where I go, where I live, what identity I adopt, I will never cease to be Sri Lankan.
Yeah.